What's your emergency?
Welcome back to That Wee Woo Show, a podcast where we watch and discuss episodes of the ABC show 911. I'm Bex.
I'm Alice.
And I'm Ellen.
Thank you to everyone who's listened to our previous episodes, and special thank yous to those who have reached out to answer questions that we've had or share their thoughts on episodes, and to those who've rated and reviewed us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you have enjoyed listening to our unhinged screaming about this show, then the best way to show your love is to share it. Spread the word about us and help us get in more people's ears. So what happened last week, Alice?
So last week on 911, the 118 found themselves stuck in various situations. Chim realised his life wasn't changed by his near-fatal car accident. Athena had to decide whether to accept a long-awaited promotion. And Buck wondered whether it was time to move on from Abby after Eddie introduced him to his family. Which is totally just platonic dude bro things.
Oh yeah, they're just besties.
Episode 4. Okay, no. But no, we're up to episode 5 now. Season 2, episode 5, which is titled Awful People. This one first aired on October 15th, 2018. And the summary goes like this. Right, wanting to see the faces behind the 911 calls, Maddie goes on a ride-along with Athena while dealing with a seemingly perfect dispatcher back at the call centre. Meanwhile, Hen must figure out how to save her family from permanently falling apart, and the first responders deal with emergencies both at a military funeral and a movie theatre. And a movie theatre.
I don't even remember the movie theatre.
When was the movie?
I don't think that this movie theatre one is in this episode at all.
When was the movie
I don't
theatre?
remember there being a movie theatre.
There was we had Athena at the cemetery, where the Gloria was the main accident. There was no movie
No, there was
theatre.
just Eva being awful.
Yeah, there's Eva, there was Gloria. That was it. It was Eva and Gloria. There was no. Where the fuck did they come up with a
I
movie
have no idea
theatre?
where a movie theatre is.
Out. I'm confused. Okay, let's just say that last sentence again. The first responders deal with an emergency at a military funeral. How's that?
Yeah, where did the
And
movie
later on we can work out if there actually is a movie theatre in this episode. Okay, so triggers for this episode include a car accident, multiple minor car accidents. We have homophobic and racist language from a Hollywood Westboro Baptist Church type group at the funeral. We have a gunshot victim, and we have a drug overdose.
So this episode was written by Kristen Rydell and directed by Kevin Hooks.
Yeah, we're starting to get into the pattern now of Kristen Rydell episodes. I know you guys aren't particular fans of hers.
Yeah, should we apologise in advance that if anyone likes this episode, maybe just skip this podcast episode, because Bex and I have a lot of feelings.
Why don't we discuss the episode, and then at the end of it we can start ripping this episode to shreds, so that if anybody actually did like this episode, they can listen to us talk and break down the episode, and then they can stop listening before we start screaming.
Yeah, but if we
about
don't scream in the middle of it, I may fall asleep.
Well, there will be minor screaming, situational, contextual screaming, but then we'll do overall screaming at the end.
Excellent.
Right, okay. I mean, the main thing with this episode is it is another one of those ones where the theme is very present at all times.
It is another themed episode, and
it's just a terrible theme too.
Yeah.
It's a horrible theme, and I think it suffers
it's
because
awful.
it followed. Oh my god, no! It suffers by comparison because last week was also a themed episode, but last week was a much better, in my opinion, version of how to do the themed episode. And because we were saying how great, Stuck is one of my favourite episodes, and then going from the highs of Stuck to this one,
it's a letdown.
Yeah,
it's so
it's
Stuck we had a lot of physical plus metaphorical.
This is just,
whereas this is just you can't. Awful people is just a terrible
very literal.
theme.
It's very
It's a
literal.
terrible theme.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's get into it.
All right. The sooner we get into it, the sooner it's over. We don't have to talk about it anymore.
Pretty much, yeah. So, so we're going to start with our cold open, which, I mean, we can just summarize it and go, the porch pirate is back.
The porch pirate is back. I was actually,
but
I suck at remembering, characters when they haven't been in, a lot of episodes. I actually recognised her, so I was very excited.
Oh, did you? I didn't recognise
so
her until Athena
you
came
didn't
along and
recognise her?
said, "You're the porch pirate." I'm like, "Oh, it's her."
Okay, so exposition cop is useful then.
In this case, yes, she was.
In this one episode, Exposition Cop does something well.
Yeah.
Okay, so porch pirate is back, and she is running a new scam. She's running insurance fraud. She's putting herself in situations where she is going to get injured by someone else's fault and get an insurance payout. So we start with her pretty much positioning herself right behind a guy who is backing out of a car space and pretending that he has hit her.
Yeah.
But that's not her only particular scam. She's also doing, oh, I've slipped on a puddle of sauce which I accidentally, not on purpose at all, spilled on the floor in the mall, so that the mall has to pay out for my slip and fall.
I mean, it's obviously working all right for her because she's getting checks and, making the claims.
The irony is that there is a montage of the porch pirate running her scams to Donna Summers. She works hard for the money.
Yeah, she works hard for the fraud.
Yeah.
Yes. But it kind of backfires because she is at a mall, deciding to run another hit and run fraud when she positions herself behind the car of an elderly woman who she assumes is, unstable, probably wouldn't be able to see the best perfect target for pretending to be hit. But as she's getting herself in that position, she gets sideswiped by a van.
Actually, that view through the back window of her just getting taken out by this van was actually pretty funny.
I laughed, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's awful to say.
It was
I
good.
mean, so to speak, but I laughed.
Can we fire Ellen every time she says awful?
I'm just being on theme, okay? I'm leaning into the Kristen.
But yeah, that did make me laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I do admit that was quite clever, the way that it was just happening in the background. So if you were focused on the old lady in the foreground, you may have missed what was happening behind her. But
Yeah.
so we get a 911 call, and the 118 get dispatched.
In which truck?
The engine truck this time.
Mm-hmm.
Probably don't need a ladder for a hit and run.
No, I'm assuming that if it was a traffic accident, they would probably more need the hoses to put out any fires.
Yeah, I'm surprised they actually bought a truck with them. Wouldn't it make sense just to bring the ambulance truck or whatever? They only need...
If they needed the tools to extract her from the car, though, that's in the truck.
I guess so.
I don't think the ambulance would have the jaws of life, for instance.
No.
And they probably didn't know when they left the firehouse that it was just, she was just under the car. They just got told, hit and run or something.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, so they get there and the poor old lady says she didn't know what to do. She was afraid to move the car. And we see the porch pirate still wedged under the car. And... Yeah. She's sort of yelling at them, do any of you have a pen? I've got a partial license plate. Someone should write it down. And Eddie's like, don't worry about the license plate. It's on the back of the car. And the porch pirate's like, not this car, the car that hit me.
Buck and Eddie are focused on helping the porch pirate. Chim and Hen wander over and they're just staring at her. Wait, don't we know you? And these guys are apparently they remember,
Yeah, they remember
all
everyone.
of their calls.
I do.
Apparently.
Chim's line is kind of like it's nonsensical, but it is kind of great. He just goes, "That's right. I never forget a femur." It's like what?
But we don't get the full kind of introduction or full memory until Athena wanders over because apparently she's been called as well, and she tells Buck and Eddie and reminds Chim and reminds the audience that it's the damn porch pirate, whose name we find out is Lorraine.
Yeah. And she asks her what a scam is this time, you know.
Yeah. She does not seem to like
No.
Lorraine.
Can't imagine why.
And then Lorraine, like, they're sort of helping her out and loading her into the ambulance, and she's making out that they didn't treat her properly last time, so she maybe she has to sue them. And Hen's just like, yeah, right, like, okay.
Hen's like, "You gonna sue us now?" And she goes, "No, you folks are city employees. You don't make that much, but the city, some deep pockets there." Then Chim and Hen slam the doors shut, and Athena mutters, "Awful woman."
So if anybody is taking a count or taking a shot for every time, I don't think we ever get awful people as the entire title, but there is multiple and repetitive use of the word awful. So start your counts, start pouring them shots.
Just grab the whole bottle for this episode.
Seriously. So we are going to check in with Maddie, who is having a day. She is taking a call, and the caller is verbally abusing Maddie, who is simply trying to get enough information so that she can do her job, which the caller does not seem to appreciate. And when Maddie finally tells her the ambulance is on her way, the caller swears at her and hangs up the call.
Yeah.
And Maddie, in frustration and anger, storms away from her station to the break room. It's not like you can really cuss out your caller in return, can you?
But there's someone in there. Gloria is there. And she hands Maddie a muffin. And she said that these are delicious and paleo. And so...
I forget, it's 2018.
Yeah, this must have been
still
the
sort
height
of the height of paleo.
paleo fad. I mean, a lot of people still do that kind of thing, but it's more keto these days than paleo, right?
I was going to say, 2019, I think I went keto, so...
Yeah, it's a similar kind of deal, isn't it?
Paleo is just eating kind of whole foods, nothing that's really processed,
whereas,
caveman food.
Whereas keto is just like, eat bacon, who cares?
Yeah, fat and protein.
That's right. Anyway,
so if it was a keto muffin, it would just be like a bacon muffin.
No, it would be
delicious.
egg and bacon. Yeah,
bacon and egg muffins.
Yes.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
No carbs.
Doesn't it?
That's it, no carbs.
But paleo muffins, Maddie is like, I can barely make lunch. But Gloria says, no, I got them from the bakery, but don't tell anyone.
Yeah, Gloria's rocking this like sweet grandmotherly vibe. So yeah, letting people know that she doesn't actually hand make her muffins would be a serious blow to that image that she's trying to put out.
Yeah, so she talks Maddie around, like, you know, every day can be a bad day. I've been cursed out in every one of the 200 languages that are spoken in Los Angeles. And Maddie says, like, I used to work in an emergency department, like, it's not like I've never been yelled at before. And then she comes to the conclusion that she thinks it's because the people in the ER were in her face and she could see them, that they were scared or in pain. And the people on the phone she can't see, so it's different.
Yeah, the people in the ER, there were a reason that they were being awful, whereas she doesn't know what's going on with the people on the other end of the phone. So Gloria suggests that Maddie goes out and sees the people that she's hearing on the other end of the phone.
We do hear first another awful line where Maddie goes, you know, they don't mean to be so, and Gloria goes, awful. And so we take a shot.
So that's 2. Yeah. I'm keeping count here.
Yeah. We also get a conversation about Gloria's Stan.
Oh, yeah. Her husband, yeah.
Who you assume is her husband.
Yeah, she never realised how right he was until after he was gone, when he said that you can't bring those people home with you, Gloria.
So Maddie apologises and Gloria says, I'm told he's in a better place now. And I wonder where he is.
Yeah, she does admit later that he's not dead. Like,
yeah.
They've just divorced.
Yeah, they're just divorced.
I mean, so he is in a better place, apparently, away from her. So yeah, she decides that she's going to organise a ride-along to go and, you know, join in with the police to see what's going on every day. And then Gloria's watch beeps and she says, it's time to save the world. The break time's over.
So Gloria leaves, passes Josh, who was coming into the break room, and we get a little bit of Josh explaining who Gloria is when Maddie expresses how amazing she thinks that Gloria is. And Josh says that she is the place's Celine Dion. She just gets in here every day, getting on that stage and giving it her all, which then sets up a montage, which we think is going to be this wonderful montage showing Gloria in her element, being the amazing 911 dispatcher she is. And the first call, yeah, she's great. It then sours very quickly.
Very quickly.
Because the first call is probably they're all legitimate calls, but the first call is a medical emergency. A guy has shot himself with a nail gun. Gloria is very calm, very cool. She dispatches help. She offers medical advice.
Yeah.
The next call is a guy reporting glass breaking in the house next door. To which Gloria asks, are you really calling because you heard glass breaking? And when the caller explains, well, my neighbours are in Florida right now, so nobody is at home, Gloria says the real crime here is going to Florida this time of year, and that he should call a glass repairman, and hangs up. And it just gets worse from there.
Yeah, I thought I'd be, like, I didn't think I was paying as much attention to this as I should, because when she said something like, I think it was the next one where she says, like, a guy, like, says that his bike got stolen, and she was like, did he break your legs? Then he says no, and she goes, well, go chase after him and get it back. I'm like, what the hell is going on with this woman? Like, seriously?
And then it just devolves to the CPR? No, I wouldn't bother. Or my personal favourite was if you were really going to jump, I doubt you would have been calling me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And just, oh my God.
She also says at one point, maybe you should have made better life choices. It's like...
Yeah. She is not this, wonderful example of how a 911 dispatcher should be acting.
Like, I'm trying to work out how bad Celine Dion is now. Like,
no, see, I think this is going to come up later because I made a note about this. I think this was them subtly hinting that Josh is gay.
Yeah, it was
because
like
he references Celine Dion later on. He's going to reference a Broadway show, so it's just them coding him as queer from the outset.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
Yeah, except that...
gay men love Celine Dion.
Yeah, except that... oh my God, what's her name? Kristen is not great at subtlety.
I'm getting that.
No, it's the most stereotypical way. Oh, gay men love Celine Dion. Yeah, so if we have a man reference Celine Dion, then he must be gay.
The last 2 episodes, we had actually queer coded Eddie. Like, very queer coded. It was very subtle.
Yeah.
And then Kristen walks in and goes, Broadway, guys! Am I right? Like, what?
It reminds me of that episode of The Nanny, and the only reason I'm thinking about this is because I saw a clip of it on TikTok a while ago, which was an episode where there was a guy in the house, and Niles was absolutely amazed because Fran was not flirting with him. And Fran was going, no, he's gay. And Niles was like, how do you know? So she walks to the door, because I think he was a handyman or something, and she yells out the door, who played blah, blah, blah on this Broadway show? And the guy yells back the actor's name. And Fran goes, there you go. He's gay.
Yeah. So basically, Kristen is however old the nanny is. And that's her entire knowledge about queer people.
Okay.
Yeah. Queer men, specifically.
Yeah, specifically, because, Hen's not breaking out into show tunes this episode.
I'm surprised she doesn't have a carabiner clipped to her uniform at some point.
Honestly. Wait, hang on. Is Karma's a bitch? No, that was creepy that Hen hooked up with Ava, wasn't it?
No, that was Karma.
No, she hooked up with her when Karma.
Oh,
it is.
no,
Karma?
you're right. It
No,
was
no,
the
no,
full
full
episode.
moon.
Yeah.
Because
That
they
was
were
the reason.
It was
Jim
the
was
beach.
then
Yeah.
blaming the full
Yeah,
moon
that's
for her
right.
behaviour. And
Yeah.
she's like, no, this was all me.
Yeah. I was just trying to work out if Kristen just assumed that all lesbians are cheaters and all gay men love show tunes.
Possibly. Who knows? Okay, so let's move on from Gloria. And we have LAPD headquarters. And they changed the sets.
It's much nicer.
Because it's so much nicer. I don't know if this is a demotion for Athena or a promotion, because she's now in this bullpen, but the bullpen has floor-to-ceiling French doors looking out into trees, which I think was much nicer than her previous desk. But Maddie is being led through the bullpen to Athena's desk.
Yeah, and apparently no one ever requests Athena, but Maddie requested Athena.
Because they have someone in common.
Oh, yeah, she says her name used to be Maddie Buckley, and she is again, apparently. She sort of realises, you know, you can see it too. She says it to herself, like, oh, I am Maddie Buckley again now.
Yeah, I mean, we noted a couple of episodes ago that she was introducing herself as Maddie Kendall when she has left her husband, but now she's finally sort of realising that she doesn't have to have Doug's name anymore. She can go back to being Maddie Buckley. And Athena knows everything about Maddie. Like, she tells Maddie who she is and why she's here before Maddie even opens her mouth. And Maddie's trying to work out how Athena knows all of this. And she tells her that Bobby has been gossiping. Bobby's told her everything. Buck's told Bobby everything, and Bobby has told Athena everything.
Yeah. To be fair, Buck literally does tell Bobby everything. We saw that in last episode.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think it's weird that I still live in Abby's house? Yes, Buck. For fuck's sake, how many times do I have to
I
tell
can
you?
just I wish there was like a scene that we didn't get to see, I guess, of Bobby just unloading everything on Athena. Like, oh, you'll never guess what.
Yeah, right.
Like, I can't believe that you know, Buck and Eddie have only known each other a couple of weeks, and he already took him to the hospital with him. Like, what do you think's going on there?
Did you know, like, Buck's already met Tia Pepper? Do you know how long it took me to meet Tia Pepper? Actually, that would work because they met Bobby at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. But still, like...
Yeah, I can just imagine.
Bobby's like, I haven't even met your family yet, and Buck's already met Tia Pepper. Like, what the fuck? And then Athena's like, honey, you don't want to meet my family.
Oh, no. He really doesn't.
I feel something coming in the future.
That's for the future, but for now, we're going to go for a ride along with Athena.
Maddie notices that Athena doesn't have a partner, and Athena says she's a field sergeant, so she goes when or where she's needed.
I don't know that having a partner would stop her from doing that, though.
Maybe last time she had a partner, they grabbed the steering wheel whenever she had to go places. I don't know.
They probably just got sick of her trying to bully everyone into doing stuff.
They probably got sick of the Twitter comments going, why has Athena not got a partner? And they were like, oh, for fuck's sake, let's just throw
Let's
in
just give everyone a bone. Here we go.
Yep.
So, and then we're going to get some really clunky, cringy dialogue where Athena, they're talking like, Field Sergeant, I go where I want or where I'm needed. 3, 2, 1. Was it bad? Just there's so many non sequiturs and starting conversations like halfway in the middle of them, which I think is one of Kristen's signature writing styles.
Yeah, she's just not great at dialogue.
So Athena asks Maddie, was it bad? You said you were married. You're obviously not in the marital home anymore. Was it bad? And Maddie says, yeah, it was...
Awful. Number 3.
Awful.
Awful. And I'm out of alcohol, but I did just eat a Kit Kat.
And I don't even want to talk about the next bit of dialogue, but they're just talking about Maddie and her marriage and her getting out of her marriage.
And how Maddie's strong for getting out. And Athena wishes that every woman in the world was strong. Even though Athena took an entire season to finally divorce her gay husband.
Yeah. Thankfully, they get distracted from their discussion because Athena gets a call over the radio for a 4:15 at Parkview Cemetery. And Maddie, being a 911 dispatcher, she knows all the codes. So she asks, oh, there's a disturbance. What kind of disturbance would there be at a cemetery? And Athena says it's probably another military funeral protest. So they head off to the funeral, and I want to know what happened with this episode, because there is literally 10 whole seconds of this episode devoted to establishing shots of various parts of LA as a transition between this scene and the next scene. So I want to know, did Kristen just run out of shit to write? And so they had to throw in extra scenes just to make time?
She ran out of terrible dialogue and was just like...
Did they shoot like a full 45 minutes worth of footage, got into the editing room, realised that 3/4 of it was unusable, cut it out, and then went, shit, we still need to make time, let's just throw some random montages and B-roll in to make it up?
Does this happen elsewhere in the episode? I can't...
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, this episode is so montage heavy, and there's so many unnecessarily long transition scenes.
Honestly, my favourite part about this is you sitting there with a timer, like, and that's 10.
10 seconds.
I was literally, I was watching on my laptop, and I kept moving the mouse so I could watch the counter on the track to see how long it was, and so I could count, because I'm going, this seems really long. And
yeah, it's like, hey, this is in LA. Did you know that this is in LA? This is LA. Can you see LA?
But
LA?
I think what made it so incongruous was that it really had nothing to do with either the scene before or the scene after. We didn't see like Athena driving along a highway. We didn't see beautiful establishing shots of the cemetery. It was literally random shots of LA.
Yeah, so they didn't even shoot like... There was a little bit of the military funeral where they're like putting the flag over the coffin, but like before it was just random shots of LA.
It really does feel like they got into the editing suite and the editors have gone, holy fuck, we're like 3 minutes short. Let's just find some B-roll, find some stock footage to just plug the gaps.
Yep.
Which kind of makes sense when you start thinking about like how many storylines are in this episode.
All 2 of them, yeah.
There aren't that many of them, so this is a very thin on the ground episode.
So we finally make it to the cemetery after all the filler shots.
To the best protest chant in the world. They really did some strong writing with this to come up with 2, 4, 6, 8. Burn in hell will be your fate.
Yeah, she's great at writing.
This whole protest scene is terrible. They should have sent the intern down to an actual funeral to talk to extremist protesters to get a feel for how they would actually talk to people, because I really don't think these guys were like 3 seconds away from I'm rubber and you're glue, what you say bounces off me and sticks to you. That's the level of their back and forth.
Okay, so hang on. I was a bit confused as to why, like, this is probably just because I don't know a lot about this kind of business that the church extremist groups go into, but this was a military funeral. Are they protesting because the person was gay?
Yeah, I'm going to say that the soldier was gay.
Okay, because there was no sort of indication of anything, but they're just shouting about going to hell and whatever. I'm like, it's just a military.
There is
like, why?
There is a sign that says soldiers die for homo marriage.
Yeah.
But I mean, this whole scene, it's very ambiguous about what they're protesting for. Even when we do get this guy, when we get the main antagonist being racist and being a bigot, it's all dog whistles. They never come out and overtly say the soldier was queer, that's why we're protesting. This guy is racist, he's going to say racist things.
I was trying to work out if something happened in 2018 that, like, we just missed because obviously we're Australian. So I was like, was it Don't Ask, Don't Tell? But that was 2010 that it got repealed.
I mean, this sort of thing goes on over there. I just wasn't... I was confused about... I was thinking, like, was there something else to do with the military that we weren't, aware of? But they were... Yeah, they had the gay marriage kind of signs up and everything. I was just like, this is really confusing me. But anyway...
Yeah, it was weird.
I think it's bad writing. It's we don't actually want to have our actors say racist things, so we're just going to be ambiguous, and unfortunately, in their ambiguity, things got lost in translation. It just makes the scene
weak, like,
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a real thing that is going to happen because no one's actually doing anything real.
But yeah, I think that the soldier was gay.
Yeah, okay, that would make the most sense.
Let's work with that assumption.
Well, anyway, Athena fights her way to the front sort of thing, and she leaves Maddie in the car, I think.
Yeah, Maddie kind of rolls down the window and goes, should I stay in the car? And Athena's like, yeah, stay in the car. So, so much for going for a ride along and seeing what happens, because she can't see much from the car.
No. The people inside the cemetery who are trying to have a funeral here... beg with her to kind of disperse them. And she's like, well, I can't really do anything because as long as they're staying outside the cemetery, they have the freedom to do that.
Yeah, they have the constitutionally protected right to stand there and be awful.
Which is why having a fucking Bill of Rights sometimes sucks. But that's a discussion for another time. She promises the uncle of the deceased soldier that she will do what she can. And
the uncle does say that it's like terrible that it just like the law just allows them to spill their filth.
Yeah.
Which was nice foreshadowing. Totally like
oh
yeah.
Okay, that was clever. Like, again, very hammer over the head, but okay.
Well, obviously not enough because we didn't think of that.
He basically looked into the camera and was like, allows them to spill their filth.
Get it? Get
it? And it's awful. And they're people.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, so one of them in like a motorized scooter thing
mobility scooter
comes through, like tries to come through the gate. And Athena tells him to stay behind the fence. And he goes, oh, what? It's like, she's a cop, mate. What do you think? So she, like, threatens to arrest him. And he spouts some racist shit. And, yeah, so he goes to go forward again. And then he just, like, starts, like, coughing. And falls out of the scooter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Athena tries to help him up. He slaps her hands away, tells her to get her hands off him, although you know that it wasn't just like, you know that he was saying things in his head that weren't coming out of his mouth, but they can't air those kind of things, or they can't have somebody say those things to Miss Angela Bassett's face. So they're not going to go.
She might actually punch him.
Yeah, she may actually go ballistic on him. No.
So Athena calls for an RA unit, and here is the second filler. 8 whole seconds of fire engines driving. 8 seconds.
So that's 18 seconds already of filler.
18 seconds of just fucking filler.
Yeah. So the 118 get there, Athena greets Bobby and says that, like, she thinks that Protester 1 has appendicitis. Like, what? What?
Yeah, I thought that. Like, he started coughing and fell over and he was holding his side. Probably appendicitis. It's like...
Yeah, like...
What kind of a leap did you make
Athena,
to get there, Athena?
Go back to, like, intimidating shop owners because, like, you're not very good at the medical stuff.
But she thinks she probably is because she diagnosed that woman as having a stroke, like, last season.
Oh, yeah.
So she thinks, yeah, I got this. Like, I'm right.
I'm the best at medical.
Yes. The protester does not have appendicitis. Oh, I mean, he might have appendicitis, but that's not the problem. The problem is that he has a colostomy bag, which has backed up again.
No. So can we just talk about Bobby examining the patient? So instead, like, we had 8 seconds of filler of emergency vehicles driving.
Yeah.
And then Bobby's examination of the patient is literally him
Lifting
pulling up
his
his shirt up. Like, why would you lift your shirt up straight away? You first introduce yourself and go, hey, I'm just going to check you over, and then start feeling, like, the abdomen.
Yep.
You don't just lift up the shirt and go, oh, there's a colonoscopy. Like, what?
Yeah.
We then go to the best scene in the episode, which Bex is chomping at the bit to pull apart because she has been non-stop talking about this all week.
It's
Terrible.
Unfortunately,
Terrible.
before I started my rewatch of this episode, one of my favorite TikTok accounts, which I've mentioned on this podcast before, Fire Department Chronicles, who have a series where the first responder green screens himself into first responder TV shows and picks them apart, did this exact scene.
Yeah.
And I did not realize how much 911 relies on its audience having no fucking clue about medical emergencies or medicine in particular, because I've watched
anatomy
I've watched this scene and this episode so many times and did not realize how fundamentally wrong everything about this medical emergency is until this first responder pointed it out. At which point I came back to Alice and said, I need you to ask your paramedic friend,
Kate,
to tell me, is this guy right? Is everything about this scene wrong? And apparently it is. So I will put a link to Fire Department Chronicles video about this scene, and we can all learn that the colostomy bag is not going to be connected to the throat.
Well, not the airway. So yes, it could be backed up, but it'd have to be backed up for a long time because it would have to be backed up through the entire intestines that it's connected to, and then through the stomach, and then up. So, like, he would have been
exhibiting
just falling off his
symptoms
mobility scooter
way before.
He also wouldn't be
happened.
coughing, and then he wouldn't be choking because it's his stomach.
Yeah. So I think my comment when you reported back what Kate said was, so it's the writers that are full of shit, not the patient.
Yeah.
And then we get, as if this paramedic hasn't been as if this protester hasn't been awful enough, we're going to double down on his awfulness, because Bobby tells the protester that the paramedics are going to attend to him. Said paramedics are a black woman.
Apparently they're going to intubate him as well for some reason.
Well, yeah, because he's choking. He obviously can't breathe. But basically, he doesn't want to have Hen or Chim anywhere near him.
He's talking. He can clearly breathe. But yes, he does not want the black woman and the Asian man to touch him.
and Bobby is not certified to intubate somebody.
Yeah, so Bobby tells him that he can't force the guy to accept care, and the protester points at Eddie.
Which I get why, for the point of this scene, he picks Eddie out of Buck, but if you are a white supremacist, evangelical, basically if you're a terrible person, and you see a brown man and the poster boy for the Aryan Nation standing there, why are you picking the brown man?
Like, Buck's standing there with his bright blue eyes blinking.
Blonde hair, like he's almost getting sunburnt from being out in the sun for like 5 whole minutes. That's how white he is.
He's blinking his little love hearts at... Oh, no, actually, that's probably why, because he's been gazing at Eddie since they got there, and he's just like, oh, well, yeah, no. That makes sense, actually.
So
never mind.
The protester picks the brown man, and Bobby says, okay, Diaz. And the protester goes, hang on, Diaz. What kind of surname is that? And Eddie reveals, oh, my father is Mexican. Like, my mother's Swedish, but my father's Mexican. And the protester was like, nope, sorry.
I love Eddie's remark. He goes, I can help you out with the Swedish half, but no one told me which half that is.
And so in frustration, Bobby says, do you want me to call you an all-white paramedic team? Being sarcastic as fuck, but this protester believes him and's like nodding his head going, yes, please. Put in a call for the all-white paramedic team.
Yeah, because that's totally a thing. It's fine.
Yeah.
I really hope that Kristen just pulled this out of her butt and didn't actually make this up from like this isn't like a real thing that happens. Because, oh my God.
Well, the thing is, I think this kind of scene happens a lot in medical shows, because I remember watching, and I did not go back and check which episode because there's like 500 of them now, but there was a Grey's Anatomy scene where a white supremacist came in and refused to let Dr. Bailey examine him because she was a black woman.
Oh, not only that,
I'm sure that Grey's Anatomy is not the only show to have done this.
There's one, I don't know if it's the same one that you're thinking of, but there's one where a guy has a full-on swastika on his chest.
Yeah, I think that is that one, because he starts off, he comes into the ER and Bailey is the one that is his surgeon, and he almost refuses to let her do the surgery.
And like George, who's white, afterwards tells him that he might not have been so nice, but Bailey saved his life.
Yeah.
Even though she had to cut through the swastika to do it.
Yeah,
Right,
so
yeah,
it's... I think this is something that a lot of the shows do. They just do it on different levels.
It happens also in 911 Lone Star as well.
Yeah, so Tim then takes this scene, and when he writes for 911 Lone Star, he does a version of this scene, but he kind of flips it, where the woman is clearly a racist bigot, but rather than her refusing care, the crew of Lone Star are the ones offering reasons why she doesn't want them to treat her. So she's like looking at the pretty white boy, and he's like, no ma'am, I am a homosexual. She's like, oh, okay, no, I don't want you to touch me. Okay, so protester has gone through most of the 118 and decided that none of them are worthy to touch him, but his condition, such as it is, has gotten to the point where Hen notes that he's going to aspirate, and then he does.
Yeah, and he's like basically choking out like brown stuff, and you're like, would this really happen?
Chim's line is like he's got actual diarrhea of the mouth. It's just
delightful.
It's not a good scene.
No.
Even when I didn't know that the medical stuff was bogus, it was still not a good scene.
No. Yeah, anyway, so the protester passes out, they treat him, throw him on a gurney, and load him into the ambulance.
Yes, because now that he's unconscious, he can't protest, and they can treat him.
Yeah, when they're unconscious, it's implied consent, which is funny.
Only works for the medical field, though.
Yeah.
Doesn't work anywhere else.
Yeah, please, like, only to save someone's life, people.
That's right.
But yeah, so Maddie's got out of the car and she's lurking, and like Buck bounces up to her and introduces her to Bobby, and Maddie says that she's heard nothing but wonderful things about Bobby. And Bobby goes, well, don't believe everything your little brother tells you. And Maddie's like, no, not from you, not from him, from Athena. And then Bobby does his little heart eyes at Athena.
Aww.
He does a lot of hard eyes.
He's so smitten. Maddie is very impressed with Athena. She says that Athena never lets anything get to her. And Athena has joined the group by this stage, so she overhears the last part of that sentence, and she asks Maddie if she knows how many times on a given day somebody has got the opportunity to get to her. I'm assuming that means that they have a lot of opportunities. And if she started letting them get to her, she wouldn't make it past breakfast.
Which reminds her, they should eat.
Yeah, which reminds her that she's hungry.
Yeah,
She's just seen someone like have diarrhea of the mouth and has not put her off her appetite at all.
Yeah, Maddie's horrified. But Athena's like, well, it's lunchtime.
Well, which again, if she's a nurse, surely she must have experienced when you're hungry, you got to eat. If you've got the opportunity to eat because you don't know when you're going to get the next opportunity.
Right.
Do we have like several seconds of them driving through the streets to get to the
No, it's so stupid.
Enough,
they go, oh, it's lunchtime, let's eat. Bam, instantaneous transportation to the mall, to the outside mall where Athena is taking her to get food.
Yeah.
And they start like midway through a conversation as well, which also happens like a fair bit in. But yeah, so they literally they step out of the car discussing Abby.
Yeah, so you like her? Athena's like, sure. You don't approve? Is it the age difference? And Maddie just says that this is the longest her little brother has ever been in a relationship. I'm like, how do you know, Maddie? You've been out of contact for several years. Like, what do you know about Buck's relationships? But anyway,
but yeah,
I don't.
It's
either way,
it's
Abby's
the
not
longest
there.
relationship
So.
It's the longest relationship Buck's ever had, but Abby hasn't been there for most of it.
Yeah, she's not there. So.
Ooh, which
Yeah.
that's kind of
Fair.
insulting to Buck a little bit. Like the only way he can maintain a relationship is if the other person is not there, so he can't
Yeah.
screw it up. Like, ouch.
Yeah.
Very ouch.
Yeah, they're about to go into this Chinese restaurant.
Vietnamese,
Vietnamese.
I'm assuming. Well, because later on we get the owner of the restaurant talking on the phone and the subtitles say Vietnamese.
Okay.
So I'm assuming it's a I mean, it could be he is a Vietnamese man running a Chinese restaurant. But...
It could be. I just thought that there was Chinese characters on the door.
But yeah, so the sign on the door says closed, but there's like bowls of food on the tables.
Yeah, it's very Roanoke. Looks like everybody from inside the restaurant has just disappeared.
Yeah.
And
But
so
the door's
immediately
unlocked.
Athena pulls a gun and starts like creeping around.
Yeah, she kind of went to DEFCON 1 pretty quickly.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. She goes through to the kitchen and there is, food on the floor, and then she sees that there's blood on the floor.
Yeah, so there's an
So
upside down
something's
wok
going on. Yeah.
with oil splattered and a big puddle of blood, which I believe may be a health code violation.
I'd say so, yeah.
I think that's the least of this guy's worries at the moment.
Yeah, she finds him, the chef, lying on the floor with a hole in his chest, basically. He's been shot.
With the wall phone on the floor next to him, and we can hear the off the hook beeping coming from the receiver.
Yeah.
Yep, because Athena asks, she sweeps through the kitchen, makes sure kind of that nobody's there, and asks the man if he can tell her what happened, and he says robber shot. So
Yep.
So once again she calls for an RA unit. They tell her that it's 10 minutes out, and she comes to the conclusion that this guy doesn't have 10 minutes, but coincidentally she has an ER nurse in her squad car.
Yep. So Maddie comes in to the rescue.
Also very impressive that Athena picked the one restaurant that's been robbed.
Yeah.
Like, thank God they went to get lunch.
I'm surprised she didn't, like, you know, diagnose this man with, like, a muscle cramp or something. You know, like...
Guys, Maddie, I think he has appendicitis. Can you come look at him?
I think that, like, the hole in the chest and, like, the entire soaked t-shirt probably gave it away. I think even I could have diagnosed a gunshot wound from
You'd
that one.
think so, wouldn't you? But
No, it was a stroke.
Regardless, Maddie comes in and gets straight to work. She does do a little bit of, like, on-the-spot diagnosing, but I think it's correct, so I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt.
yeah, she does, like, cut open his shirt and then look at a hole in his chest and go, I think he's been shot. Or something.
I think there's a hole in his chest.
Yeah.
He's been shot and he's got a sucking chest wound.
Yeah, so she's looking for something to seal it up with.
Yeah.
And Athena gets a piece of plastic wrap and then they tape it on. Where do they get this medical? Well, they do have a first aid kit there, so I guess there must have been some tape in that.
Yeah, there's a first aid kit on the wall. I think that was the first thing Maddie did, was rip the first aid kit off the wall so that she could get some supplies.
Yep.
But she's not quick enough to seal off the wound, so our poor victim, she loses his pulse.
Well, she does tape it
Starts
to his
doing
t-shirt, so...
Yeah, I don't think that the occlusive dressing is quite as occlusive if you don't actually, like, fully seal it to his skin.
Yeah.
But she starts to do compressions.
Oh, God.
And I've suddenly discovered who taught Buck how to do compressions.
Like, she starts off okay.
Yep.
And then, like, she's doing the very typical, like, TV show compressions, though, where they're, like, bringing their whole body down because they can't actually... And it's just like, okay, calm down. But then she, like, speeds up the pulse by, like, 200%. And I'm pretty sure she taught Buck how to do compressions.
Yeah.
Because it's...
Because nobody else on the show does compressions at that speed except for the Buckley siblings.
Yeah. Like, just slow it down a little bit. Like, good Lord.
It works, however.
Apparently. She gets Athena to raise the patient's legs, and the man suddenly wakes up, because that's also not how CPR works, but in TV shows it is, so...
Well, apparently the elevating his legs and getting the blood flow back to his body is the trick to waking somebody up when they've fallen unconscious from blood loss.
Jolt of blood to the brain.
The blood appeared back in his body. And, like... blood transfusions? No. We just prop their leg up.
Lift their legs up.
But anyway, so Maddie, like, reassures him, and the man can't work out how they're here because they hung up. And Athena's like, who hung up? And the man says that 911 hung up on him.
And they're horrified. They're, like, sharing this look, going... the fuck?
Yeah. Well, they make it a much bigger deal later on in the series that dispatchers are not allowed to be the one to end the call. The person on the other end has to end the call first.
Right.
So the fact that Gloria is hanging up on everybody left, right, and center, and the dispatcher dealing with this gunshot victim hung up on him is, like, a major no-no.
You know, this is out of context, but that just totally reminded me of Four-Letter Word.
Literally, that's what I was Four-Letter Word. And when Jimmy can't hang up.
Yeah. Dean's got to be the one that ends the call. The brain rot is so real.
Shout out to Dusty for bringing this fic back into our lives, because it's now all we can think about.
Oh, dear.
911 operators, just the same as sex operators. Just, you heard it here first, folks.
The girls that get it, get it.
Do 911 operators get paid by the minute as well? Or?
No! Oh my god.
Like, wait, don't hang up. You just started a new minute. Let's chat first. Oh, dear. Anyway, yeah, so...
Oh no, my brain is just going in all sorts of directions with like Buck and Abby having phone sex and Abby going, but dude, I do this all day. Why do we have to keep talking to... Oh no.
No wonder Abby hasn't called him since she left for Europe.
Poor Abby.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Where were we?
Back to we just went to commercial, so it's fine.
Oh, sorry.
So when we come back, Maddie is filling Josh in on the situation, and Josh does not believe her. He lists all of the possible reasons why the call could have terminated, other than a dispatcher hanging up on someone, and this is where we get the musical reference, because he calls her Nurse Nellie Forbush, who is the nurse in South Pacific.
Ah.
I had to look it up. I had no idea.
Yep.
You're not a gay man?
Apparently not. I mean, good for me. Like, gender affirming. I'm apparently not a gay man, so that's fine.
I do like that. I like that Josh is like, oh, it was just spotty cell service, but he was
on a landline
phone.
I don't think Josh knows that. But he decides to humour Maddie and goes, okay, let's look up the call, because they do record all 911 calls. So let's listen to the call and see what happens. And it's not pretty. Because, yeah, Gloria took this call.
Yeah.
What a
And-
shock. I didn't see that coming with the montage we had
No.
earlier.
No. So the restaurant owner, his English is accented, but it's still understandable. And he says, "Help, a robber, he shot me." And Gloria pretends that she can't understand him.
Yeah. Like, the guy even gives her the location and the address, and Gloria's just like, speak louder. Like, the man's been shot.
Speak louder, or I'm hanging up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, there's literally a bullet hole going through his lungs. He can't speak much louder.
Which he tells her. He says, "Shot, bleeding, help now." And then Gloria drops all pretense of not being able to understand him and says, "Yelling at me won't stop the bleeding, okay? I'm not the one who shot you."
Yeah.
And he lapses into Vietnamese. And the only reason I know that is because the caption then very helpfully says, "Speaking Vietnamese." I have no idea what he actually said.
Yeah.
And Gloria...
Probably, fuck you, bitch.
And Gloria says, "Seriously, you're switching to another language now?" And then we get the click of her hanging up the call.
And Josh is like,
Josh and Maddie.
that wasn't a mistake.
Yeah.
She meant to do that.
And Maddie, just for the people in the audience who weren't paying attention, says, "Gloria hung up on him." Like, yes, honey, we saw.
Yeah, we were
there
there.
with you. We know.
Like, we yeah.
Yeah.
Which did get me wondering what would have happened if he'd had a decent 911 operator and he had lapsed into Vietnamese. So I did a little bit of Googling, and apparently I'm assuming Triple O had have the same kind of function, but 911 have something they call a language line, where if you get a caller who is not speaking English, you can three-way call in a translator.
Oh, that's cool.
And they will help you by translating your questions and translating the answer from the caller for you.
Yeah.
They
So worst case scenario, Gloria could have hooked up the language line to get someone who spoke Vietnamese to help her.
They have
rather
similar
than-
for deaf and hard of hearing. I know they do in Australia anyway.
Yes.
Where the deaf or hard of hearing person will type and someone
Yes.
translates it to, like, a landline.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I've had it in retail where, like, we had a customer who would call up quite regularly to, like, just ask if we had stuff in stock. And the like person would be like, oh, I'm just like translating for such and such, and then they're like, just like such and such is typing, and then they'd type back my reply. But yeah,
That's really awesome.
good little service.
Yeah.
Although I did note, I did a little bit of a Reddit dive, and most people asking the question, like, my grandmother can't speak English, what happens if she needs to call 911? And most of the advice is teach your grandmother how to say translator and then the language that they need. And have that be the first thing they say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because then that way the 911 dispatcher does not have to try and guess at what language they're speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can go straight to, I need an interpreter for X language.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go have a picnic.
With an honest-to-God red and white check picnic blanket.
Really? I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
So Hen and Karen have like hooked up with Michael so that Denny and Harry can play together, which is it's very sweet.
Yes.
I didn't realise that they were all such great mates with. I guess Hen and Athena work together a whole lot and go out for drinks and stuff separately after work and that. So I guess it makes sense that they would all be friendly together,
Yeah, like Athena's probably
It
at work.
kind of does,
so
but I mean, Denny and Harry are not of similar ages.
No,
so
Denny's a few years younger, isn't
they
he?
they don't look like that they would be like the besties. They look like the kids that are being forced to play together while the adults talk.
Oh yeah,
A
it's
little bit,
it's
yeah.
like the younger cousin you've got that like
Yeah.
like I'll hang out with him, but I'm probably gonna make him do naughty things and then blame him later.
But they're playing with Paisley.
Yeah, so
So
Paisley's
they've
still
got
around
something
at
to
this
distract
point.
them. Yes.
So Paisley's the dog that Hen stole at the end of the earthquake because it's
Does it count as stealing if the wicked bitch of the West is dead?
I mean, like,
rescued
probably not, but it was
Paisley.
just funny. Yeah, she rescued, yeah.
Yes,
Um,
rescued. Adopted.
We're still not sure if Paisley's still allergic to gluten, but
Maybe they don't have sandwiches at the picnic. Anyway, they are playing together. But Michael is already... We're coming in the middle of the conversation again. Michael
Yeah,
says...
I hate it when they do this. It's so awkward.
yeah, because they like catch us up, like they're trying to make it natural, but they catch us up. Like
they give the exposition as
Yeah.
part of the sentence.
it's like you don't like her, Abby. Like no, we've just been talking about someone else for the last
Yeah.
30 minutes. Like what?
Well, he's saying that he's glad that Athena has found someone new, but apparently he has like a natural paternal quality to him.
That's because he was a father.
Yeah. I don't know if Michael knows that,
So-
but, it's okay to be insecure, Michael.
Which is the point of this whole scene. He's feeling insecure about his fatherhood now that Bobby is in the picture.
Yeah, Harry seems to idolize Bobby a little bit, which is fair. Like he's the new shiny toy.
Harry did
Yes.
tell him that it's weird that you're an architect and Bobby's a firefighter, so you're there when the buildings go up, but he's there when it burns down to the ground. I'm like, wow, Harry. That's rough, man.
I mean, he's not wrong.
yeah.
But the point of this scene is to hammer home the idea that no matter what happens, Michael is May and Harry's father. And they
know that, yeah.
know it. Anything they get from Bobby is just extra, but Michael is their father.
It's kind of funny that they're like, yeah, biology is important and biological fathers matter.
Ironic, isn't it, huh?
Yeah.
So the boys are playing with Paisley. They're playing fetch. With this squeaky toy, they throw it. Paisley goes running after it. And then a woman steps in and picks Paisley up.
Yeah, like the audacity.
And all we can see is her arms. And it is a white woman with crappy tattoos up and down her arms. That's all we can see at this point.
It's Oliver Stark?
I said woman.
My bad.
Don't make fun of Oliver's tattoos. I mean, yeah, he's got the patchwork style going rather than going for a full sleeve. He's probably going to regret that choice at some point. But leave Oliver alone.
But it's been so long since I've seen him this episode.
I know. He only has like 2 lines.
I know. So the boys run over to this woman who is suddenly absconded with their dog.
The dog's being stolen again.
Harry looks a little bit concerned about this situation. The actor who is playing Denny doesn't have lines for a couple of seconds, so he's not paying attention. He's just been told, okay, you have to run over and meet, and this is your mark. So that's literally all he does. He just runs over, hits his marks, and then just kind of stares off in the distance, stares at his feet, waiting for his turn to say his line. Child actors, you gotta love them. It does detract a little bit from the scene, though, because he's not really paying attention to the woman who has the dog.
Yeah.
Who is... It wouldn't be an episode about awful people if we didn't have Eva in it.
Yep. So yeah, it's Hen's ex, who is also Denny's mother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, biological
mother.
Yeah.
So
Egg
she's...
donor? Egg donor.
No,
No,
because
she
she
gave birth.
literally
Yeah, she did
birthed
birth
to
him.
Denny.
Yeah, but like then she wasn't really in it, so like
No,
that's all she really did.
pretty much, yeah. So she's picked up Paisley as an excuse to talk to the boys, and Denny is talking a mile a minute at her, is not fazed that this strange white woman is talking to him. Harry's a little bit more suspicious, and has kind of noted that they're at a dog park and she doesn't appear to have a dog.
Yeah.
So, 10 points to Michael and Athena for raising this child to be a little bit aware of his surroundings.
I mean, yeah, Athena's a cop, so she's probably like teaching
Stranger
them to
danger.
be observant.
Speaking of observant, Karen notices what's going on. She's sort of... Hen and Michael are getting lunch ready. She looks over her shoulder, sees Eva, and jumps up and sprints for the dog park.
Hen, interestingly, sees what's going on and starts running, but not for the boys, but to hold
No.
Karen back.
She's running after Karen. I don't know if Michael knows who Eva is, but he just sees Hen and Karen running and he follows along. And takes control of the boys, gets them out of the situation, doing that that false cheer thing that you do as a parent where you're trying to distract your kids. Like, oh, who wants food?
Yeah,
Pay no
literally.
attention to the crazy white woman. Let's go have hot dogs.
But Karen just sort of squares up to her.
I love Karen.
And Eva's like, excuse me? And yeah, Karen basically rips
'Cause,
her
I
a
mean,
new one.
yeah.
Like, why are you here? Like, yeah.
She's so worried that Eva introduced herself to Denny as his mother.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they obviously haven't told Denny who his biological mother is. But no, she's not there to talk to Denny. She just wanted to show Denny's father. She wanted to introduce Denny's father to Denny. Because apparently she lied when she said she had no idea who Denny's father was.
Yeah. So there's this, black man standing behind her, looking a bit nervous.
Yeah, I think he realised that shit's gone down, that he had no idea.
Yeah.
He
what's
looks
happening.
awkward as
He's
fuck.
in over his head. Yeah. Not really
Yeah,
sure what's going
yeah.
on. But Eva just says, Karen accuses her of lying, and Eva says, am I? We'll find out. And then she bounces.
It's just another way for Eva to get back at Hen.
My notes the entire episode refer to Nathaniel as sperm person. I was like, yeah.
Well, it's accurate, I guess.
So we go back to 911 headquarters.
Yeah. Gloria's in a room, like a closed off room, a meeting room type thing with Sue.
Yep.
And Maddie comes in, but Josh kind of heads her off and says, "Oh, why don't you go take a longer lunch?"
Yeah.
But Maddie sees what's going on in the conference room, and she's like, are they reprimanding her for hanging up? And Josh is like, no, they're firing her for the hundreds, maybe thousands of hang-ups that she has done.
Going back 8 months. And, like, how has no one noticed and has no one complained?
Yeah, like they're obviously not they're
8
not doing like
months.
a quality assurance on any of these calls, really, are they? 'Cause
Oh my God, could you imagine you call 911, you're like, please stay on the line to answer a few quick questions.
How satisfied were you with your emergency today?
it's more that listening to occasionally a few people's calls just to make sure they're actually doing a decent job at this.
I guess you would have to have somebody make a complaint.
That's what I mean. Like, 8 months and no one's made a complaint. Like,
Yeah,
it's
she's
weird.
been horrible to people for 8 months and no one's complained.
So Maddie is shocked that this has been going on for 8 months, and Josh kind of contemplatively says, it kind of makes sense. She went a little bit squirrely after the divorce. And Maddie, along with the rest of the audience, goes, wait, divorce? I thought her husband was dead. And apparently, she only wishes he was dead.
yeah. So, yeah, Gloria's probably facing criminal charges. Because there was a 911 dispatcher in Houston that got 18 months for interfering with emergency calls.
Which, again, is another ripped from the headlines storyline. However, I hate to burst Josh's bubble, but the dispatcher got 18 months probation. She only actually served 10 days in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, I guess she wasn't a danger.
Well,
Society
she got
when she got
reported because
fired?
somebody died. The dispatcher in Houston took a call, and she hung up on the caller, and somebody died, and so the widower made a complaint. They tracked which dispatcher it was. They went back over her history and realized that most of her calls were lasting about 45 seconds.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, I can't... Yeah.
Because she just could not be bothered dealing with people. So if she couldn't handle the call, she'd just hang up and move on to the next one. For months.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Gloria gets let out, apparently, and she storms over to... I nearly called her Abby again. What is going on with that? Maddie.
Storms over to Maddie, which was why Josh wanted her out of there, so that she wouldn't have to confront Gloria.
Yeah.
And Josh just vanishes.
It's so funny. You could almost see like the little, when the Roadrunner disappears and there's just that little
This puff of
bubble of
smoke.
air
Cloud
that's left
smoke.
behind. That was Josh.
Yeah.
Cloud, that's the word I was looking for.
Bubble. No, Gloria's
Bubble of air.
Gloria's upset. She's like, I was nice to you. I helped you. I showed you where we hide the good coffee pots. And they want to put me in jail because of what you said. And Maddie's like, no, you hung up on people on purpose. And then Gloria
They're
actually
awful people.
says the title of the episode
Ah.
after all.
All right,
Awful
everybody
people.
take an extra long drink.
Okay, hang on.
But then she goes off on this rant that how, like, people expect you to do something for them and they never ask, how are you doing, Gloria? And you give them everything you have and then they leave you for your sister. It's like, wait a second.
Suddenly, she's not talking about 911 calls anymore.
So we find out accidentally what happened with her husband, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But she gets dragged away by the cops. And Maddie's a little bit shaken, but she's okay.
I love how ineffectual the LAPD officers are in this, because Gloria is threatening Maddie. Like, she literally tells her, snitches get stitches.
Yeah, and they're
But
just like,
the
yeah,
the LAPD officers are just holding Gloria's arms, letting her finish her threat. And then as soon as she says that, they're like, okay, well, I think that's it. Now we're actually going to do our job and pull you into the elevator.
Yeah.
Just try and make it look like, you are struggling to contain this woman. You're like,
I mean, she looks like a grandma, but snitches get stitches. It's just a funny line. All right, we're going to go to the Wilson house. I don't know. I think they're walking in the front door, right? Or Hen's walking in the front door.
Hen and Danny are coming in.
And
with Paisley.
They've
Don't
got
forget
this
the dog.
really pretty, like a LED light or something in their front door that I noticed this time.
Yeah.
It looks really nice. Like, wow.
It's a nice set. I do like the Wilson house.
Yeah. Lots of wooden paneling and warm kind of tones. I like it.
Yeah.
Karen is on the phone trying to find out what this means for them, that they've found someone who claims to be the biological father.
Someone who is the biological father. Apparently enough time has passed that Nathaniel has submitted DNA, and I'm assuming that Karen and Hen have also submitted DNA for Denny, and they've matched them and determined that Nathaniel is Denny's biological father.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know, like, would they agree to doing that? I guess. Can you refuse to give DNA sample of your child? Like,
I wonder if there was a court order,
Yeah.
or maybe there was a subpoena, or there was some kind of Eva's lawyers sought for a DNA sample to be submitted. But the timeline in this episode is so whack. I don't think enough time has passed for
No,
that
I think
to
it
have
would take
happened.
A long time. Yeah. Yeah, even if they'd have to go through all that red tape, and then to do the actual get the results back from the DNA test must take a while. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, in TV land, it comes back right away.
It comes back right away, which is... I mean, Eva is not wrong when she told Hen that biological fathers have rights.
Yeah.
And the lawyer has told Karen that the courts will balance the interest of the child in having contact with his biological father against Eva and all of the shit that Eva has pulled.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, the courts aren't going to displace a child to give him to a stranger.
But they could also order Hen and Karen to allow Nathaniel access to Danny.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But they're not just going to straight up take him away.
Yeah, Hen is worried that that's what could happen. And they did say in a previous episode that there was precedent for that.
Yeah, Hen and Karen have no biological ties to Denny. And I'm sure the courts were happy at that point because there was no biological family in place, or that they could find, for Denny to go to Hen. But now there is a biological family member.
If they've legally adopted him, which they have because the mother signed over all rights, so they've legally adopted him.
Yes, but the question is Nathaniel did not consent to the adoption. So he could contest the adoption.
Yeah,
and he could seek custody of his biological son. It's about to get messy. It has the potential to get messy.
What a mess. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all because that awful woman wanted to hurt Hen. And I just hate that we had just got Hen and Karen back in a stable relationship after the season 1 storyline with Ava.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we've just thrown them back into turmoil again. It's like they're not allowed to be happy.
Yeah.
No.
And for stupid reasons.
And for such stupid reasons.
And Hen's apologizing again, like she's stupid, she's sorry, and Karen's just like I don't want to hear that. Like, I know you're sorry, but I'm having a really hard time with this. It's like,
yeah,
completely valid.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Denny overheard all of this, and sweet baby that he is, he thinks that Karen being mad is because he's talked to the strange lady at the park. Because in his mind, this all happened after he talked to that lady. So he's thinking that this is all his fault.
Yeah, but Hen tells him that she's not upset with him, and Denny says the cutest thing. He goes, "Can you fix the bad thing like you fix people at work?"
Aw.
What a cutie pie.
Yes.
Hence it tells him that she's going to fix everything. Mum's going to fix
Yeah.
everything.
Not just yet, though.
Yeah.
We got to go back to Buck's.
Hey, we finally get some more Buck.
Yeah, like
Um,
10 seconds of him.
yep,
He is
yep,
cooking
couple
again,
of
though.
lines.
Something that's not breakfast, so good for him.
Look at him
Progression.
learning things.
Yeah.
It looks like Maddie has come over for dinner, so Buck is cooking dinner for her while she rants about Gloria.
Yeah, because apparently Gloria's still sending her messages and, like, trying to, calling her all the time.
Yes. Maddie says that apparently in reporting Gloria, she violated some kind of 911 dispatcher code that she didn't even know existed. And she says that Gloria has been calling her and texting her until she had to shut her phone off. And I'm looking at her going, why didn't you just block the number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why do you even have her number? And why does she have your number?
Yeah, because the next thing is she's turned her phone back on, and the screen starts filling up with messages from Gloria, which are marked as from Gloria. So she has entered
She's got the
Gloria
number in her
into her
phone.
contact list. I'm assuming that Gloria, like, I don't even know how Gloria got Maddie's phone number.
Like, maybe when they were, like, being friendly at some point, they exchanged numbers.
But was there enough time between her giving Maddie a muffin and this to happen that they would exchange numbers? And I'm pretty sure
Gloria did show her where the good coffee pods were at some point.
I
so.
don't know.
Yeah, they did exchange more than a few words.
It's just this part is nonsensical. Like, she should have blocked Gloria's number from
Yeah.
the get-go. But I guess that doesn't work for dramatic purposes. So we get text messages filling up Maddie's screen saying, "Damn you, Maddie, this isn't over. Why are you ruining my life? This isn't fair. I'm a good person."
Are you, though?
Are you?
But Maddie's going to ignore her, and hopefully she'll go away. And
Yeah, 'cause she doesn't want to smash another cell phone.
after she threw the last one at the wall a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
It deserved it.
So now we're going to go back to Hen.
Okay, so Hen's going to fix everything by stalking Eva.
Pretty much, yeah.
As you do.
So she followed Eva to somewhere. I
It's a
don't know.
liquor store.
Okay. And then she...
It's a liquor store, and Eva is hanging around out the front buying drugs.
Right.
I missed that whole thing. Apparently, I just was not
No,
watching.
I didn't see that part either. I must have tuned out by that point. I'm like, I knew she followed Eva home, but I didn't...
Yeah.
It was mostly happening in the background, and it was kind of fuzzy, but there was a split second, because it was all focused on Hen in the foreground watching Eva through the mirror, but there was a second where they focused on Eva, and she hands something to a guy in a car, who then hands her something, and she's sort of looking around furtively and slips it in her pocket and walks away, which is just like, TV shorthand for buying drugs.
Drug deal, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So then Eva starts walking home, and that's when Hen follows her back to her apartment.
And then Hen's phone rings, and it's Karen, who apologises to her, but, she says, "Why don't you just come home?" Well, she says, "Where are you?" And then Hen was like, I need to clear my head. All I feel is rage. It's like, oh, dark Hen.
Yeah, a little
but
bit
she's
of
sitting in
flush.
the car, and, like, she's just staring at, Eva's door. The light's just shining on her face, and she's, like, looking really like she's gearing herself up to do something bad.
Yeah, so a couple episodes ago, Hen mentioned that she wasn't, she promised that she wouldn't lie to Karen again.
Yeah. I did like
And
that.
then
Hen,
Eva comes on the scene and she immediately starts lying again.
I mean,
But she
it's
didn't lie.
from
she
a certain point of view.
She didn't tell the entire truth.
She's just out for a drive.
She is out. She did go for a drive, but then she parked and she watched, and then she drove a little bit more, and now she's parked again and she's watching. But yeah,
That's not just out for a drive.
no, it's a very stretching of the truth.
And she decides she's going to confront Eva now. So she goes up and starts banging on the door, yelling out that she knows Eva is there. But there's...
and another part that Bex absolutely loves.
Oh, good lord. So, Hen is knocking on the door, telling Eva, open the damn door, and we hear a smashing noise, which I'm assuming in this episode is just going to be shorthand for the audience of something bad has happened off camera. So,
it's a very clear and, sounds like it's right there, smashing sound.
And it's very it's very specifically glass breaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Hen takes this as, oh shit, I need to get in there, and it's probably a good thing that she does get in there because Eva is ODing. She is on the ground with a needle still stuck in her arm, and she's aspirating on her own vomit. However, there is no broken glass in that scene. Eva did not.
There's nothing broken.
There is nothing broken. Eva did not fall on anything. There's no smashed glasses that she was carrying, or she's knocked something over. So they've literally just used the glass sound as something has happened off screen. The Foley artist is just so confused. What is smashing? What is smash? Because they're just we don't care. Just smash something.
Yeah.
We'll use that sound.
They
it's fine.
could have just used a heavy
Yeah.
Something falling.
Falling to the ground.
And
It's just glass breaking.
I could forgive it once, but this is not the only time in this episode that they do it. There is another scene where they have, something happened off camera that's bad, let's have glass smashing, but no, actual glass was broken in the making of the scene.
I feel like it's probably the same sound effect too.
You know what? It probably is. I don't know, maybe it was when they were shooting it, they forgot to do something, or whatever sound effect they had just didn't work. So in the editing suite, they've just grabbed a random sound from their suite of sounds and have just thrown it in. That'll work. And there's no actual glass in the scene. I don't care. I needed to have this tape in the hands of the studio 5 minutes ago. We're going with glass.
It's glass_smash .wav. They're like, that'll do.
So, there's no glass broken, but it doesn't matter because Eva is ODing. And then, you were making fun of me for counting the seconds of the transition scenes. I was counting the seconds of this next scene because this scene went on too fucking long. So, for 30 whole seconds, we watch Hen struggle with the decision of whether to call 911 or not.
Yeah.
And I get it's a difficult decision. Does she do what is best for her, morally, what is the morally right thing to do, call 911, save Eva's life, or does she do what is best for her and her family and let Eva die? But I think that we could have got that done in 15 seconds.
You would think, but they were running out of
20 seconds, I'm starting to get antsy. 25 seconds, I'm going, come on, guys, we need to wrap this up. 30 seconds, I'm like, oh, you were struggling to get your time for this episode, weren't you?
Yeah, they were like, shit, we have nothing else to go on this episode.
So Aisha, just ham it up. Just keep going, Aisha. No, it's not too long. Just keep going.
Yeah, and all this time Eva's lying there going. Oh, come on.
Hen's doing diagrams on the window with a whiteboard marker, and then she gets a corkboard with string starts putting red lines.
It's that meme of where you're looking confused off in the distance and all of the algebraic equations and scientific notation floating around your head.
That's literally what's happened, yeah.
But yeah, so for 30 seconds, Hen struggles with the decision, and
I just sent Bex the gif.
Oh, yeah.
Alice is just spamming the chat with everything that I'm talking about, which is why I'm just seeing the notifications pop up on my screen as I'm talking. Eventually, Hen does do the right thing, and she does call 911, but it takes far too fucking long to get to that point.
She gets out her phone.
Yes.
And then she's like, nah. And so she walks to the door and she's like, and she walks back to Eva and watches her, like, and looks at her phone again. And she's like, yeah. And it's like, just make up your fucking mind. Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, Kristen's there watching her watch. Like, nah, we've got another. Nah, keep it going.
I'm sure that when they do scenes like this, that they shoot extra with the idea that they will cut it down in the editing suite.
Yeah, it's for reaction shots, yeah? Right. They just left all of it in.
But yeah, they got to the editing suite and went, no, we're going to need this entire scene.
Like, this episode is 20 minutes long. We have to have Hen looking real mad for, like...
But then, But then I don't understand, because then we go from Hen, we see her typing in 911, and then bam, immediately there are 2 paramedics administering naloxone.
Yeah.
Why 30 seconds of deliberation and then almost instant paramedic?
And, like, Hen's a paramedic. What? She could literally, like, roll her into the recovery position and start something on her own. Like, yes, she needs the thing to reverse overdoses, but, like, she could have done something. Instead, she's like,
I'm going to stand over here and just watch you choke on your own vomit while...
Yeah, I'm going to angrily lean on the wall. I mean, it's still better than Walter White, who did just walk away, but still. Breaking Bad? No? No one?
Yeah. I was wondering where you were going with it. I got that Walter White was Breaking Bad. I just have not seen it to get the reference.
No. Yeah, he... Like, spoilers for Breaking Bad, but he totally kills someone who's overdosing.
Ah, charming.
By doing exactly that. Like, walks in on them overdosing and aspirating. And it's just like, yeah, that doesn't seem like a me problem, and turns around and walks out.
Nice.
Yeah. He knows the person, too. It's not like a stranger. Yeah. But he's like, yeah, no, my life would be better without this person. And just turns around and walks out.
Would you count him as an awful person?
I would absolutely count him as an awful person.
Mm-hmm. I get that impression. Hen saves awful people every day after Eva wakes up and says, why did you save me?
And then Hen looks at the camera and goes, I save awful people.
Oh, so there's 2 times that they say the episode title.
I must have just blocked it from my memory. Yeah. That's how much I hated this.
You were very drunk at this point.
You put the lime in the coconut and drink it up. But she has...
so Hen's called the parole officer as well in this time?
Yes, because she is getting Hen out of her life. Because, yes, drug use when you were put in prison for drug use is a big no-no when you're out on parole. So she's just earned herself a one-way ticket back behind bars.
Yeah, but, like, so she called 911, and while she was waiting for 911, she's like, gotta call the parole officer too.
Which, again, how does she know who Eva's parole officer is?
Eva's clearly got, like, the business card on the fridge, and it's just, like, parole officer in bold.
Yeah.
And Hen, like, on the landline, and then Gloria answered and hung up on her.
Okay, so we do a rather extended establishing shot of a medical center, which is, I thought it was a hospital. It turns out it's an urgent care center, where a nurse has called Athena because she put out a bolo, I'm guessing, for her robbery suspect. And a guy matching the description, which Athena has probably just said, young white guy with oil burns on his face, has shown up to the urgent care centre.
He said he did it while he was grilling, but apparently the burn pattern's all wrong. I don't know what a burn pattern is, but I guess the arrangement of burns.
How do you... So this guy, they must have stabilised the gunshot victim enough that he was able to tell Athena that the wok that we saw earlier that had fallen on the floor had been full of hot oil, and he had thrown it in the robber's face.
Yeah.
So the guy has got burns on his face. How do you get burns on your face if you're grilling?
Yeah, right. I mean,
like, did he lean over to... did he, like, check the steaks and slip and go face first onto the grill?
No, he wanted bacon in the morning, so he put the George Foreman grill at the end of his bed. And then in the morning, he put the bacon on it. and turned it on. And then he fell out of bed because he had a nightmare and burned his face on the grill. It's not that hard to...
Jeez.
He then bubble wrapped it and went to urgent care, okay?
Yes.
I did not just finish watching The Office again.
What?
What happened on The Office that was included a George Foreman grill?
Who did that on The Office? Was that Dwight?
No, it was Michael.
Oh my god.
He burnt his foot. He stepped out of bed and stepped on the George Foreman grill. And then he bubble wraps it and tries to stick it in an MRI.
Okay.
You guys just aren't getting my references at all.
No, we're getting them. We're understanding them. We just haven't seen them to be able to fully comprehend where you are going with your references.
How have you not seen The Office?
I've seen bits and pieces of it enough to know that that's a very Michael Scott thing to do. I just have not sat through the entire series.
I feel like we need to do The Office rewatch.
No, please no. Please no.
Anyway, yeah, so the wounds are more than a day old, and he's got a massive infection and keeps screaming. And so Athena goes, well, we'll see if we can't give him something to take his mind off that.
Uh-huh.
But when they knock on the patient's door and try and go in, the room's empty.
Not there.
And then Bex's favourite sound effect.
Then there's glass breaking off camera, which raises...
Again, sounds like it's right next to them.
Yeah, which it's not,
like
because
down a
Athena has
hallway.
to go down a hall and around a corner and through to an employee's only room, into like a storeroom where our victim has... I guess he was trying to find pain medication or drugs or something, and has fallen down, maybe hit his head. Again, there is nothing in that room that is glass that is broken.
No, nothing. And like, why did he pass out?
I'm assuming he hit his head, or maybe they're like he's gone septic, because they did say he had a massive infection. Maybe that's finally... But I just, again, why are you using a glass sound effect when there is no broken glass? I would also like to point out that this guy still has a gun tucked into the waistband of his jeans, and how the hell did they let him into urgent care with a weapon?
I'm always going to urgent care with my gun tucked in my jeans.
Yeah. It's just, it's like they've assumed that the audience is so stupid that they need to have this guy with a gun in order to be able to identify him as the shooter.
Athena nudges him, like, literally kicks him.
Yeah.
Takes the gun with a pen to, like, stop the fingerprints, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I have questions about this next part.
Yeah, she calls for an RA unit.
What's an RA unit?
Rapid... Basically, she's calling for an
Assistance?
ambulance, because the guy's unconscious.
But they're in a hospital.
They're at an urgent care centre.
Yeah, I know. I think that it is procedure that any kind of emergency treatment needs to be done by first responders, even if they are... I do not remember which series I was watching, but there was something happened like within a hospital, and they had to call 911 and get ambulance people to come in before the doctors in the hospital were allowed to do something with them.
I'm so confused.
Yeah. Rescue
what?
ambulance. RA stands for rescue ambulance.
Right, so she called an ambulance to the urgent care centre.
Yes.
Okay, right.
If there's
Sure.
anybody who works in the medical field in the US who is listening and who can explain the insane process that requires for a rescue ambulance to be called to a hospital or an urgent care to pick up somebody who is having an emergency, a medical emergency, please let us know. We would be fascinated to know why that is.
I mean, I guess, like, GP clinics call ambulances all the time for people.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I thought an urgent clinic was basically a hospital, but, like, it's just an emergency room.
No, I think urgent care it's nurses. They're not, it's like the halfway between your GP and your doctor. Your GP and your hospital. So they can do minor medical procedures.
Like stitches and stuff.
Yeah, but anything more than that, you would go to the hospital for.
We have those in around here now. I think they're calling them satellite hospitals or something, where you can get stuff done. Like, you can go and get treated for some things.
Yeah, we've
got
had
urgent care clinics here.
We just had 2 urgent care open up down here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just interesting. I was like,
It seems so stupid, though, doesn't it? That you would have to call an
Yeah.
ambulance for someone who is collapsed in a medical facility. Why couldn't they treat him, apparently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could be completely misremembering what I'm saying that I remembered, but who knows? Doesn't matter because that's what happens in the episode. She calls for a rescue ambulance. She then calls Maddie to give Maddie the good news that they got him.
Yeah. And Maddie thanks him for letting her ride shotgun with her. And she's pretty sure that wasn't bile. It wasn't bile and bullets that she saw. But now if she has a moment of doubt, she can just say, what would Athena do?
Yeah.
Oh, they do say that the restaurant owner is out of the ICU and on the mend. So yeah, he was clearly well enough to
Give a description of the shooter.
Yeah.
But before Maddie can get back to work, her phone rings again. She does take a moment to look at the screen, and I think Gloria must have wised up and had blocked her number or done something so that it doesn't show up on Maddie's phone, because Maddie answers the damn phone, only to discover that it's Gloria calling her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she finally tells her, like, she says, what do you want from me? Like, I'm not going to say sorry to you because you're an awful person. She doesn't say that, but that's what she's thinking. It's nowhere near, like, she, hangs up on her, basically.
Yeah, Gloria tells her, I tried to teach you something important, and Maddie goes, oh, I know what I learnt from you. Ding!
Yeah.
Although it's not quite as satisfying to just hit a button to hang up on people.
Yeah,
Gone are the days where you could
down.
literally slam the phone down on someone.
Yeah, I do. Like, I miss my flip phone for that.
Yeah, that's
it
still
would
like
be satisfying, yeah.
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 But Gloria has a dastardly idea, and she calls 911. And
gets put
amazingly,
through to Maddie.
She, I don't know if she asked for Maddie, but
She
gets
does,
through to
because
Maddie.
Maddie goes, how the hell did you get through to me? And Gloria says that she pretended to be a police officer and wanted to be put through to a specific dispatcher. She said, my dispatcher. And Terry put her through.
Damn it, Terry.
Damn it, Terry.
they need to fix their security after this.
He's probably thinking, but it was okay when I did it for Abby. Why can't I do it for Maddie?
Yeah. But Gloria is driving. She's sort of cackling evilly to herself as she does that. And she's going off at Maddie about how she's a lazy ingrate and blah, blah, blah. But she doesn't see... Like, she's driving down a narrow kind of alleyway.
Yeah, it looks like she was on, like, the freeway and the traffic was bumper to bumper, and she got sick of sitting in traffic, so she sees an off-ramp. What she assumes is an off-ramp. So she takes that, thinking that she's, like, bypassing all the traffic. She's taking a shortcut.
Yeah.
But she's not looking where she's going. She's looking at her phone while she is driving, and she does not see the cat that walks out in front of her.
Yeah, well, she does see the cat
Yeah, it's a
and
kitty.
and
Yep, but
swerves out
far
of the
too
way.
late.
Yeah, swerves out of the way and then runs into a couple of cars that are parked.
Which, it does not... The amount of effort that goes into getting her out at the end, it does not seem that what happens, which is basically just her being a pinball, it doesn't seem like the damage matches.
And they're cutting her out of her driver's side door.
When all she did
But
was
she hit
sideswipe.
the other side of the car.
Yeah, it doesn't... Like, maybe, like, she sideswipes one car and then kind of bounces off another one. Maybe that would be enough if the trigger was sensitive enough to trigger the airbags. But I don't see that the impact was hard enough to crumple the car in to the extent that it was.
Maybe this is
But I
one of
guess
those
it's-
situations where just don't look too hard at it. And
Yeah, it's
had
much more
an
dramatic if she's
accident.
trapped in the car and they have to cut her out and the airbags have gone off than if she just, like, got a little bit shaken up.
Yeah. Well, in any case, the phone hasn't ended the call. It's still going, and Maddie is like, Gloria, what happened?
Yeah, it's like bounced off into the footwell.
Yeah. And the airbags have gone off, and so Gloria has... there's a constant ringing that's overplayed through this entire scene, which is meant to represent the ringing in Gloria's ears. So she's got a little bit of tinnitus. She's probably got a bit of a concussion from the airbags going off in her face as well. And she's rather dazed and confused.
Yeah, she's calling out, but she can't hear.
Yeah.
When Maddie's... Like, I thought... Like, she had the phone on speaker, right? Like, she was...
Yes.
Looking at it, shouting at it. So it's not like she can't hear Maddie because the phone's on the floor. It's just the ringing.
Maddie does mention, because at some point Sue comes over, and Maddie mentions to Sue that I don't think Gloria can hear me, and Sue says that the tinnitus from the explosion of the airbags has probably temporarily deafened Gloria.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So that's why she can't hear Maddie. But it's kind of ironic in that she's saying Gloria just keeps talking. She's like, I hope you don't hang up. I mean, I would have hung up, but I hope you don't.
And she says, I need to call someone, but I lost my phone.
She's so sad when she says that too. She's so confused.
Maddie works out where she is based on...
Which I don't know how. Because, like, she starts with the cell towers. She pings the cell towers that Gloria's call is coming from, but there are no reports in the area of any accidents so nobody's seen anything, nobody's called it in. So then she calls for air support to get a visual of the area where the cell tower is pinging. And then that's it. We don't see her do any more work. We don't hear her get any more reports unless Sue takes over that point. But
my assumption was that air support saw it and called it in. Like, it wouldn't have to go through a dispatcher. Air support would just be like, nearest unit to this.
I don't think that's how it works. I think air support should have reported back to Maddie. Because how does air support know which firehouse is closest, which units are available?
Because they're air support, they can see it.
No.
I have no idea.
No, Maddie's always got to dispatch the things.
Yes,
right?
but she doesn't.
I've got no idea.
There's nothing between calling from air support and the 118 showing up. Because the 118 do show up in the end,
Maybe
magically.
She's just texting Buck.
But she doesn't know where to send Buck. I don't know. They just completely forgot to finish that part of the story.
She's like, hey, Buck, can you ask Tommy? Oh, wait. No, we're not in season 7 yet.
They're too focused on Gloria's monologue.
Yeah.
Where she's trying to explain why she has been hanging up on people.
I just don't care. Like, it's not like we've seen Gloria for multiple episodes.
No.
We've seen her for literally, like, she appeared with a paleo muffin, and now we're supposed to care that
she listened to a traumatic call, and that's why she doesn't.
Yeah, and now she just hangs up rather than
relive the trauma.
Being an adult, and doing her like therapy that's included in the 911 dispatcher.
Yes, and we're supposed to believe that this all happened because that morning she was already emotionally damaged because her husband had asked her for a divorce.
Yeah.
The only reason I cared about this scene or felt anything was because Maddie was crying.
Oh, yes. Always, yeah. Feel bad for Maddie.
Yes.
But anyway, she eventually hears or sees the fire is approaching.
Yes.
And she says, oh, you didn't hang up. And Maddie's like, no, I'm still here.
I'm still here.
Yeah, because Maddie's a good fucking person.
Maddie's not an awful person.
That's right.
Maddie also wasn't stuck last week. Maddie just goes against the grain.
Oh. She was it. She's been stuck and now she's free.
Now she's free.
So she's just getting on with shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
She's the only one who is.
Not stuck, not an awful person.
No.
Look at Maddie go.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so Gloria is free, apparently.
Not quite yet, but she is at least the 118 are there and she is saved. Because Maddie didn't hang up. But first we have to go to Athena and Hen, and Athena has abused her police powers by doing a search on Nathaniel Green for Hen. And found out that he is, for all intents and purposes, a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stable job. He's a manager at Home Depot. He owns his own home, which a manager at Home Depot wouldn't be able to afford a home. Employee of the month 3 times. Like, who gives a manager employee of the month? That's just like...
Head office, maybe? But yeah.
Good credit, and he counsels at-risk kids on the weekends.
Yeah. And the only reason that the only sort of blemish on his record is that he had a couple of DUIs, which only started because his wife died of ovarian cancer.
Yeah.
So he fell into a bit of a black hole, had some DUIs, started going to rehab, and that's where he met Ava.
Yeah. And we can't really judge him for sleeping with Eva, because Hen did the same thing.
Yeah, he was in a bad place. She caught him when he at a bad time.
He hit rock bottom.
He hit rock bottom, and she was there.
Yeah.
He probably would not have done that had he been sober and in his right mind. So we're really stacking the deck for Nathaniel as a good guy.
Yeah. So yeah, Athena says that Ava broke her parole hard, so she's going back inside.
And Hen confesses to that 30 seconds that she took to consider whether or not to save Eva's life, and asks Athena, does that make her an awful person?
Oh my gosh.
And we all took a drink.
I'm like, my liver is screaming at me right now. Or it would be if I were actually drinking every time someone said the word awful.
But it doesn't make her an awful person. It makes her a good human being. Because despite everything that she put you through, you still saved her ungrateful ass.
Yes.
And Hen says, yeah, but now this man can come and take my son. And Athena's like, no one is going to take Denny away. All he wants is visitation. Yeah. So...
Athena says that Hen has to have faith that Nathaniel will take one look at her and Karen and the life that they have with Denny and won't try to take Denny away.
Yeah.
And then the dialogue just gets awful, and I have to give Angela Bassett credit for pulling this off, because I don't think anybody else could do it. And she kind of goes, yeah, people can be awful.
Oh,
and then
this
the dialogue
is the bit where it turns into the voiceover. I was like, she's saying all this to Hen? Like, this is...
Yes!
Yeah. You know how Maddie normally does the voiceover? Do you reckon they, like, gave it to Maddie and Maddie's like, nah, fuck that shit? And
No,
so
I honestly think this is intended to be Athena is telling all this to Hen.
Yeah.
But then they've gone, we've got like 3 different storylines that we haven't resolved, so we're just going to do a montage. Even though none of them happen chronologically at the same time, we're just going to chuck them all in a montage and deal with them at once and wrap them up with this. So the actual... Let's go through the montage and then we'll actually go
Athena's
through...
talking to Hen,
Yes.
and then we have a montage of Hen...
Yeah,
wheeling
montage, like Athena and Hen are in the montage. So we'll go through the scenes that are in the montage and then we'll actually talk about what Athena actually says. So the first scene we see is Eva in prison orange jumpsuit being loaded into the sheriff's van, getting carted back to prison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is kind of, you could call that kind of present time. That's something that's happened recently. Then we've got... We go back to the urgent care centre where Chim and Hen have responded to Athena's call for an RA unit, and they are wheeling the shooter out of the urgent care centre, and Athena meets them and arrests him as they're wheeling him out.
And
all right, so
that's got to be
back
well
in time.
before... Yeah, and that's got to be before... Like, well before Gloria's car crash.
But then the next scene in the montage is the 118 extracting Gloria from the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
The only thing that I like about this is that I get 2 more members of the 118 to my roster. Because there is McAllister and Romero and Lewis attend the scene with Gloria. And then, so there's that. Then we get...
Then Athena says, not everyone is awful. There's good ones out there too. And then we get like this full facial shot of Bobby.
Like with neon arrows.
See what you did there.
Yeah, even when she's not physically next to him, she's still going to do heart eyes over Bobby.
Yep.
She's talking to Hen because she can't actually cut to a photo of him. She's like holding up a framed photo of him. Like, good ones too, and just like
her phone. She's lifted up her phone to show like her wallpaper, which is just Bobby.
Yeah, which is no longer the children. It's just Bobby.
Then we cut to 911 headquarters, where Sue is checking in on Maddie as Maddie is leaving. Tells her that she did some good work and that she's glad that she didn't let the awful things that Gloria said get to her.
Yeah.
And then we get a call back to previously in the episode where Maddie says, well, if I let everyone get to me, I wouldn't make it past breakfast. Because that's what Athena would do.
Yeah. We then go to the Wilson household, which is obviously after all of this, because this is literally what they're talking about.
Yeah, Hen is sitting in front of Athena as she's saying this, yet we get Hen and Karen talking to Nathaniel. And the voiceover, like, we kind of have to mention what Athena's saying because they are putting the montage and lining it up directly with what Athena is saying, because Athena, she says, you will never know which kind of person someone is unless you give them a chance to show you.
Yeah.
And then we have Nathaniel saying, Denny has a good life here. I don't want to harm that. You are his parents. You tell me what is best and I will follow your lead. So Nathaniel is a good person.
Nathaniel's like, I don't want a fucking kid. What are you talking about?
He got dragged into this too by the sound of it.
Yeah, and Athena sums up by saying maybe they'll surprise you in the best way.
And then we go to directly after the scene with Nathaniel, with Hen showing up at the firehouse.
Yeah, it's messy.
Yeah.
It's so messy.
Yeah, so they finally have a family dinner here where they all are sitting at the table and eating together and no alarms go off. And
there are 4 other members of the 118 at the table.
Yes, they're allowed to eat.
Because you've got...
very exciting.
You've got Eddie is at the end of the table closest to the camera. Bobby's at the head of the table, the other end. You've got the 3 Stooges, like, on one side. And then on the other side, I think you've got Taylor, because there's a bald head there, so I'm just assuming anybody who is bald is Taylor. And then there's a woman on the corner next to Eddie, so that's either Castillo or Jackson.
Oh. Well, there must be a happy ending at the end of this episode, because they're feeding people who aren't in the inner circle.
Yes.
Amazing.
They're finally allowed to eat.
And then Athena finishes her voiceover by saying that our lives are shaped not just by our experiences, but by relationships, who we love, who loves us, and the stronger those ties are, the less awful everything else seems. Right. Unlike this episode, which is just awful.
Which is just awful.
Well, by my count, there were 12 mentions of the word awful.
Oh my God.
And 3 actual episode title mentions.
I think that's a record. I think that's definitely more than Karma's a bitch.
I don't know, there was a lot of Karma's a bitch, but I don't think it was 12.
Yeah.
No. That must be where the extra like time that they had that they needed to fill with like stock footage was, because Karma's a bitch takes longer to say than awful people.
Maybe. So if you enjoyed this episode, thank you for listening. Come back next week for episode 6, because we're about to... I know we've already ripped it to shreds. We're about to rip it even further. Because I think we've had... I'm just going to do a quick Google because I want to make sure that I'm correct when I say this. Yes, this is the second episode that Kristen Rydell wrote, and already we are seeing a very strong pattern to her writing and the way she structures episodes, and I don't like it.
No.
Do tell.
I mean, she's as subtle as a sledgehammer. We saw that with Karma. We saw that again with Awful People. She has a tendency to... I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and not say what I actually think, which is that she has an inability to write dialogue. And so rather than trying to figure out how to naturally segue into a scene, she's just going to dive straight in because then she doesn't have to write the lead up. But it then just comes across as really clunky and forced and unnatural. And she does not... Like, I know I said this in the group chat, but I will repeat it here. There is a distinct lack of Buck and Eddie in this episode. And I understand that this is an ensemble show and it is not the Buck and Eddie show, and there are other characters that need to have their limelight. Last week was very Buck and Eddie heavy, so therefore this week we needed to shine a little bit of a light on Hen and on Maddie. Yeah. But... whereas with other episodes, other writers are able to balance all of the other characters and at least give them a little bit of screen time, make them appear that they are involved in the episode. Kristen can't do that. She's got blinkers. If she's writing about Maddie, that's all she can write about.
Yeah.
Like we saw with...
like last week was very Chim heavy. And he sat down with Bobby and had like a full thing with Bobby.
But last week was very light on Hen, but Hen was still there. She was still in the scenes. She still had dialogue. She still felt like she was a part of that episode. Whereas you can't say that Bobby or Eddie or Buck felt like they were a part of this episode.
Yeah, well, Eddie. The only thing Eddie said in the whole episode was that his father was from Mexico.
And his mother was Swedish.
And
that's his
Swedish.
entire...
That was his,
entire contribution to this episode. Like, he was there in a couple of scenes, but non-speaking.
And Bobby was just all hard eyes. That was it.
Yeah.
No dialogue. So
like last week we had that awesome scene before they got the ATM guy out.
Oh, yeah. They were all...
with them all cutting back and forth and all chatting, and it felt like a family. And then we had this episode where it was like...
I'm doing one storyline about one character, and that's all I'm going to write about. So that's why she's not my favourite of the writers, because I'm not enjoying the way that she approaches the ensemble, in that she does not handle the ensemble. She handles individual characters.
Yeah.
This episode has never been a favourite. It's been one that I have quite happily skipped, and now that I've watched it critically, I understand why I don't like it, because it's so thin on the ground. It's such a short episode that's been stretched to fill. Yeah,
I get it. Yeah. I probably won't.
It's not great.
Want to watch it again.
And there's no character development, except for negative character development.
Yeah.
Like, Maddie does not grow.
No.
You might disagree with me, but I do not feel like that there is any growth in Maddie's part from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode.
She learned about what would Athena do. Which isn't always probably the best course.
No. Don't
intimidate shopkeepers. Yep, good, got it. Yep.
And once again, we're putting the Hen-Ren relationship in peril, because apparently that's the only thing you can do when you have a married couple on the show with kids, is just try to break down the relationship every week.
Yeah.
That one's gone backwards. Maddie didn't do anything. Athena didn't grow. Nobody else grew. It was just, we're going to write an episode around a theme, and it's just on theme.
Yeah.
We're not going to have any character development.
Yeah.
So
like,
you
Chim
can
had such a big episode last week and then nothing this week.
Yeah. So this is one that you can skip and you are not going to miss anything.
No.
Yeah.
Like, we had a whole storyline about Gloria, who we've literally never seen before.
And we... Oh, no.
And no one cares.
And we never really get a significant storyline with her again.
No, that's it. Like, that's
it. It was one and done.
That's it. Yep. So, like, we could have had character development from other members of the 118, but instead we had this whole thing about Gloria, who no one cares about.
And that really long cold open with Lorraine the Porch Pirate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Porch
Like,
Pirate.
did
I
the
forgot that
Gloria
was even
thing,
in this episode.
like-
Yeah.
Did the Gloria thing help with Maddie's story? No. Absolutely not. The ride-along helped a bit more with Maddie's story.
Only
But
to
even that, like-
connect Maddie with Athena.
Yeah.
Um,
And, like, we found out, like, Athena found out about Maddie's situation, and that was about it. And then they had a brief conversation about
but
Abby.
even then, that was... Like, the audience, that was known information for the audience. We didn't need to hear that again.
Like, Abby didn't grow. I mean, Maddie didn't grow. Do you know what? Ellen, yeah, Maddie didn't grow. She's just like, ugh, thought about Athena, and then I can't remember her talking about, like, Athena again.
No.
Like, it's not like she's suddenly going to be like, what would Athena do?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we had with Abby, and I did actually mean to say Abby that time. Abby connected with Athena, and then we saw their relationship develop over season 1 as they relied upon each other and used each other to solve storyline issues. But yeah, the whole Maddie and Athena friendship never develops kind of beyond this, as far as I know. I could be forgetting it, but I don't think it becomes important again.
No. Yeah, it's just, like, I just don't care about Gloria, and we had so much Gloria, and I just don't care. Like, oh, my husband served me divorce papers, so then I started hanging up on people. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Get a grip. Be an adult like the rest of us.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely someone has seen this story and gone, let's include that as a storyline in 911, but I think it would have been more interesting if, say, Josh was the one that started doing it. Like, they introduced Josh to us, we fall in love with Josh, we get it over a couple of episodes, things start to not look right with Josh, and then we find out that he's hanging up on people. I think that would be a more emotionally satisfying arc than...
Except I would have been sad if it was Josh, because I like Josh. So, like, if Gloria had been introduced even, like, at the start of this season.
Yeah.
So we had more than one episode with her.
Yes.
But she literally appears... like, where was she during the earthquake? Nowhere, because she didn't exist.
Yeah. It's like they tried to pull a David Wallace with her, and it backfired on them completely. Because they didn't even have the build-up of David Wallace.
And, like, David Wallace, like, everyone, like, was a bit fan servicey, because some people know...
Yes.
Like, I appreciated that it was David Wallace.
So maybe they should have cast a different actress that everyone would have had instant recognition and instantly... Like, imagine if it was, like, Dolly Parton or something was playing Gloria. Everyone's like, oh my god, it's Dolly! Oh, fuck, Dolly, what are you doing?
Yeah, like some actress who's known for being really, really sweet and then turned it on
Betty
her head.
White.
Like, that would
Do you imagine if they got Betty White in?
Oh my god, that would have been amazing.
Betty White telling someone, if you had really wanted to jump, you wouldn't be calling me.
Community did that, like, years ago, though, with Betty White, so...
Oh, I'm just randomly picking names. I've also never seen Community, so...
Oh my god, you need to watch more TV shows.
That's funny.
But yeah, that was back in... Oh god, what year was that in?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But you get the idea, right? If they'd picked a different actress, someone that the audience would instantly connected with, I think that storyline might have had a little bit more emotional resonance than Gloria.
Than just this random person.
Yeah.
It was like, what?
So that was Awful People, and that was awful, and I'm glad I never have to watch this episode again. I can continue to skip it every time I get to season 2.
All right, well, let us know what happens in the next episode.
I'm so excited for next week.
The one that I tried to watch last week? Yeah.
Because you actually forgot that Awful People
that
existed.
I had to watch Awful People, yeah, and I skipped straight to episode 6, which is called Dosed, and it is so much fun. The official summary says that when the first responders race to the rescue of a crashed newscopter, they unwittingly become the subject of an eager reporter's first on-air assignment. Meanwhile, Bobby tries to deal with his daughter's death as Athena prepares for May's homecoming dance, and Maddie struggles to let go of her fear of the past. Also, the team respond to emergencies at an eating contest, a bodybuilding competition, and a toddler pageant.
Oh, God.
There's a lot in next episode.
Sounds like it.
There is
It's so good.
But I mean, look at how many. So what have we got? We've got Taylor in the newscopter. We've got being dosed. We've got Athena with May's homecoming dance. We've got Maddie's storyline. We've got 1, 2, 3 emergency call-outs all in one episode. How many did we deal with today? Like in this episode, they had three things going on.
I'm just going through like my brief notes, like my first watch notes, and like I'm so excited already.
Yeah. So there's not going to be 30 seconds of watching a character navel gaze and struggle with a decision, because there's not going to be time in this episode.
We should make a note to count like how many random like stock footage shots we get next episode.
I honestly don't think there's going to be that many. They've got too much to deal with.
That's what I mean. There's probably not going to be any.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting like moving forward to see how often they have to rely on stock footage filler in their episodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for anybody who has not seen episode 6 and would like to know what they're getting themselves in for, we do have a helicopter accident. It's not serious. The helicopter is just on the ground when it should be up in the air. It's fine. We have the consumption of insects. So if anybody's got a bit of a squeamishness about that, watch out. We've got some... How am I going to describe this? It's not really suicidal ideation, but major character in peril connected to the non-consensual dosing of LSD.
Oh.
Alice, help me out. How do I explain that?
Yeah, I don't know.
As an aside,
Yeah,
there was
just leave it at
definitely
that.
no movie theatres in this episode.
No, there is no movie theatres in this one. I think
maybe
they actually
cut some out. Or something.
Actually, that's really interesting. Maybe when they initially did Awful People, maybe there was another storyline with a movie theatre.
Yeah.
And as they were doing the summaries for doing press releases, they included
didn't
that in
take
the
it
press
out.
release.
Yeah.
And then by the time they got to the editing suite, maybe that footage was completely unusable. Maybe it ran so long that they had to pull it out, but then the episode ran short, so that's why they needed to put the filler in. It's just a mess.
Yeah. Big mess.
Big mess.
Okay, so if you agreed with us about this episode...
Or if you disagreed with us, we are
yeah,
quite willing to entertain any contrary opinions.
I would love to hear if people actually loved this episode. Let us know. You can leave us a comment on our on the episode's post on thatwereshow.com, or you can get in touch with us on social medias. You can email us at contact@thatwereshow.com, and you can find all that information and transcripts on our website as well. Thank you very much for listening this week, and we will see you for episode 6, which is called Dosed. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
911 is a fictional show, but many of the situations portrayed happen in the real world too. If any of the topics we've discussed in this episode have affected you, please know you're not alone. You can call or text numbers in your country for help. Just Google crisis support in your location to find out the number. If you enjoy our podcast, you can help us out by leaving us a review on Spotify or your preferred listening app, and by sharing our social media posts. Find out more at thatwereshow.com.
Also, I'm really sorry if you hear really weird noises. Phoenix is dreaming behind me and he's growling in his sleep.
No, I haven't heard anything
And
yet.
I'm not sure how, I'm not sure if it's going to pick up on the
Yeah, it
microphone.
might, yeah. I'll be like, oh, don't worry, Alice is just hungry. She didn't eat me.
No, I'm eating Kit Kats. I don't know what you're talking about.